Well, Syracuse rode to the Final Four, started in California, then came back east to the Verizon Center in D.C., where they knocked off the #1 seed, Indiana, and then fellow Big East team Marquette. But the numbers that grab you are the defensive numbers. 46 points per game, under 30% field goal percentage defense, and a crazy number, 15% field goal percentage defense from the three-point line. This is why these 5 players play as one, play on a string in the great 2-3 zone of Jim Boeheim. Michael Carter-Williams, everybody knows about his offensive ability as a passer in the open court and in the half court. Most of the season led the country in assists. Great defender as well. 109 steals on the year, but he will force shots. Sometimes, Fran, he keeps both teams in the game, but he's been one of the best players in the NCAA tournament.
Man, him and Trish up top of that zone, they are murder because they take turnovers, deflections, and turn them into easy baskets in transition. Got to eliminate that.
Brandon Trish doesn't gamble as much, but he's a real good defender. He's got great feet, and he's tremendously strong. He gets in the lane. He can get to the free throw line. They will isolate him as a post-up player. Presence at the top. Can sneak down low, too, and play a big guy if he has to on the backside of the zone. And a streaky shooter, he can knock down threes in transition as well. Talk about knocking down threes. James Sutherland, maybe the best three-point shooter in the country as far as range and length. Catch and shoot to 25 feet. You have to switch out when he comes off all the screens they set for him. He'll gamble in the backside of the zone and use his length, but he's really tough to defend, Dino, especially when he comes down as the trailer in transition, where they'll pitch it back to him at 6'8", and he'll shoot from 25 feet.
Because what happens is guys run to the lane, and he's out 25 feet. He has NBA three-point range. We have to understand we can't be surprised by his long three-point shots. We have to get out and contest.
He's got the ultimate green light. We know that.
That's why people like playing for Jim Boeheim. Jim Boeheim likes this guy playing for him. He never comes out of the game. C.J. Fair, backline anchor in the zone, rebounds tremendously off the back of the zone. He gets out, a great outlet passer. Mark, as you know, you played against this guy last year. The backside of their zone, they pitch it to their guards quickly. C.J. Fair is one of the best at that.
Well, their length on the back line, really everywhere is so good, but in the back line, they can go out and guard the wing. They can take away the short corner. The ball goes to the mid-post. They pinch. If they get a rebound or a deflection or steal, now those guards are already up the floor a little bit, and it really initiates and starts their fast break. But the back line of that defense, the length, quickness, a lot of people underestimate how hard those guys play and how quick they are in the back of the zone.
You have to be intelligent to play the 5 spot for Jim Boeheim in the 2-3 zone. They don't look to throw the ball to Rakeem Christmas or Musa Keita much on offense, who backs him up. They kind of split time, but you have to cover space. You have to be a guy that talks and communicates and reads what the forwards and guards do. He's not an offensive threat, but he's also a guy that can screen on offense in the pick-and-roll game for them. Key to beating Syracuse, you must mix up the zone attack. Jim Boeheim's very good at adjusting to your zone offense. If you come out and have just 2 attacks, they'll switch their coverages on the zone, especially in the middle of the floor and at the foul line area. And when you take the ball into the gap, what you have to get against any zone, you better be strong, because they'll come and they'll strip, and they have averaged 9 steals per game. And Dino, you've got to give help on Michael Carter-Williams on offense. If you let him get into the lane and start making plays, you're in trouble.
Well, you have to give early help on Michael Carter-Williams, because he's the straw that stirs the drink, as we know. If he gets deep into the lane, that's bad for our defense. So as he's coming down the floor, whoever outlet the ball to him or inbounded the ball to him after made baskets, that guy has to be at the top of the key. So we almost have a 2-on-1 on Michael Carter-Williams.
Well, guys, the 2-3 zone, everybody in America is talking about it right now, and unfortunately, all 4 of us have had to coach against it, and you know what to run against it. You drill it all week long, and then you go out and play against it, and it doesn't work. And here's why. The length at the top, the 2 big guards, you see how high up the wings play? They force you into uncomfortable areas out on the basketball floor. And we'll look just here at a basic set. Pittsburgh coming down, trying to do the right things against the zone, and we'll watch how they try to attack as they come down against the 2-3. What they'll do is they'll come in and they have their head up. They get into their sets. But as they get into their sets, they have good attack. But look at the coverage here. The length, everybody's got their hands up on the outside, forcing the ball wide. They're really taking away everything in the middle of the lane and just outside coverage. Look at the center stepping up, the backside forward. Everybody is not watching the ball. They're covering their area, but also ability to know where the basketball is.
And Tim, those forwards are really lifting up high as well. They're not just flat on the baseline either.
And then the great ball pressure. And you see here, on the closeout, their guards really attack the ball at the top, but because they trust each other. Each player in this zone is attached to the other. Guards to guards, guard to forward, forward to big, big to forward. And you see Sutherland, he's going to come out and cover on the wing to James Robinson here, way out. You say a 2-3 zone, it almost becomes a 2-3-2 because he knows if he leaks out to the top, that Christmas will cover for him and backside Fair will cover for Christmas, and then Trish, if he has to, will drop down and cover on the backside.
You know, Tim, I think 1 or 2 points, too. First of all, in practice, when you're preparing to play against Syracuse, it's hard to simulate their length and size and how they defend, so it's hard to prepare. Second thing is they're going to adjust throughout the game, just like you would if you're playing against a man-to-man offense. They're going to adjust their defense to what you're running. If you've got guys in the short corner on the baseline, they're going to begin to adjust on how they play. So it's not just a stagnant, big, tall 2-3 zone. They're adjusting as you're adjusting offensively, and that's why a lot of teams end up just taking a lot of three-point shots because you got to keep adjusting as you attack their zone.
Well, and I think also, Tim, see that alignment right here. A lot of teams don't like to attack behind the zone because they're afraid of the trap. And when you don't have an offense that can attack it from behind the zone, you're giving up about 30% of the floor space. So the teams that do the best job, in my opinion, against Syracuse are teams that can get it through the middle and also get it along the baseline, but have a press offense versus the trap on the baseline. I know we had some success with that when we coached against Jim Boeheim. But this is like a knuckleball pitcher to zone. It might look hittable one week, and the next week it becomes a little bit different, a little harder to swing at.
Right, as you see, Frank, great point, is that as the ball comes into the middle, there is a little space in the back, but everybody kind of goes to the middle of the floor, including the offense, and there's no space to get anything good, and they funnel the ball back outside and, again, get it right down to that short baseline, middle post area. Another spot. In the zone, everybody says you must be able to attack the zone from different spots, but the key, beating the zone, is to the middle of the floor. Well, easier said than done because Syracuse, they will adjust. If you have a shooter at the top, they will get out and pressure the shooter. If you don't have a shooter, they'll back away and they'll give you that foul line area, or they'll come up soft closeout, allowing their forwards to come back in. So what happens here is you'll see Georgetown enter the ball into the middle. Anytime the ball comes into the middle of the floor, Syracuse coverage is man-to-man in the middle of the floor with the 5-man will step up. But now, who guards the backside? This is where the length and the quickness of these forwards is so important. You'll see Syracuse forwards pinch down to the baseline. They have to be aware of who's behind them. Georgetown, nice job of trying to slide behind. You think that man will be open, but watch the quickness in the activity of Syracuse hands as the ball comes into the middle of the floor.
Georgetown did a great job of trying to attack, but Syracuse does a great job as well in matching up and being well coached and knowing exactly what the responsibilities are there against that attack.
Let me tell you what I love what Rick Pitino does right here. When that ball goes into the middle, guys, these two shooters are going to flare to the corners, and that's going to put enormous pressure on those backside forwards because now what you're doing with the ball in the middle being played man-to-man, when those shooters go to the corner, you're basically playing 3-on-2 on the baseline.
And Tim, I spoke at a clinic a few years back with Coach Boeheim, and he said one of the coaches raised his hand at the end of his presentation, said, what hurts your zone the most? He goes, teams that get the ball in the high post, but having somebody in the high post that can pass it, shoot it, or drive it.
Exactly, and to Fran's point, if these guards do slide out, you saw it in the Big East tournament where they had major problems with it. Now Sutherland has to make has a decision to make. Does he want to go inside, which he has to protect the rim, or the three-point shooter? And that puts pressure on the guards to slide all the way down to the corner as well. But you see here, watch Sutherland what he does. Great length, great quickness, and then on the run out, as you talked about, Mark, their defense becomes offense.
That's it
right
there.
I think they're underestimated as far as how good they are turning a transition, deflection steal into a fast break opportunity. I think they're really good.
Well, Mark, you said it in some of our meetings. Tim, those best players, those best, quickest guards are up top of the zone. They're not working on the baseline because they're already out in transition.
Well, one more point on the zone. We'll bring in our whiteboard here, is attacking the zone. And we all know about the personnel, and their offense is good, and it's been better since the Big East tournament. And I think their defense has been great all year, but their offense has been better. They're making more shots. But you have to get involved and get easier shots against that 2-3. And we just put some quick keys down. Quick ball movement, as you talk about, Fran. Michigan will be very good at that. Player movement as well. You can't stand still in one spot. They'll adjust. Mix up your looks because Jim Boeheim will adjust. Backside rebounding is important. You've got to crash the glass because you're not going to get easy first attempts. Strong with the ball, nine steals per game. And then inside-out looks. Don't try to beat it straight from the three-point line. Try to attack the baseline and then back out. Overload the middle. Try to put two guys maybe in the middle of the floor, not one. Louisville did that in the Big East tournament where they have to make a choice. Which guy are they going to defend in the middle of the floor? And also stretch the corners. Dive, as you, Fran said, dive those guards down to the corner. Now, stretch your guards down to the corner, make your forwards make a decision if, in fact, you want to cover the corner or you're going to cover inside.
One last thing. Make some shots.
They usually help.
Make some shots. Otherwise, we got no chance.
Absolutely. Well, with Fran,
hey, now we're going to take on Michigan. They're going to have to attack this zone. We'll show you what Michigan is going to do offensively. But, hey, they're hard to stop. There's a reason they're so good, and they're going to the Final Four.
This summer, imagine